So let's say heaven is here, and you've been living in heaven the entire time. You might have been seeking heaven's spirituality, you might have been seeking enlightenment, but it's been here the whole time. And the only thing that has kept it out of view, or to the degree it has been out of view, is fear. Fear is like a well, it's kind of like the way that you break the the speed of sound. What's that called? When you create a sonic boom by going faster than the speed of sound, right? There's a big explosion. And when I was a kid, we used to feel it in my classroom because I lived not too far, flying distance from Edwards Air Force Base. And so you'd be sitting, and all of a sudden, boom, the whole thing would shake. It'd be like a bomb went off. Well, now think of 3D reality. 3D reality, to looking at it from the spiritual dimension, 3D reality is a construct, kind of a false construct, kind of like a video game. That as a soul, you kind of jump into this realm and play the game. But what's the boundary between this higher realm and our 3D realm? That is fear. Think of it, if you're a soul, you can take any form, you never die. There's no fear. Now let's imagine that spiritual reality is more real than physical reality. They're both real, but physical reality comes out of spiritual reality, not the other way around. So, how do we get back? How do we get to source? Well, one of the things is, and I'm not saying it's the only thing, is letting go of fear. And to some degree, we're always going to have fear in the body. It's the body's response to jump out of the way of the oncoming car, bus, or whatever. But I'm not talking about the natural fear of the body. Like if you're underwater, your body's going to want to get up to the top to get some air. That's okay. You're going to have an adrenaline response or whatever when that happens. Sure. What I'm talking about is the neurotic fear that people live with, and most of us do, every day of our lives. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's really worse. But think of it this way, if you went to the spiritual master and you said, well, how do I make it to heaven? How do I make it to a higher reality? And that master told you, well, just get rid of fear. You might think, well, that's really not very realistic, but it's true. I'm lucky, as somebody who's done over 2,000 past life regression hypnosis sessions. I kind of think by now that there is life after death. 2,000 people didn't all get together and figure out how to lie to me. I don't think that's really what happened. So the thing is, I know that we don't die. And I had a couple of close calls in the last decade where I knew I could have been dead like 1 second later. And I won't go into detail on those, but let's say one was medical and one was criminal. But either way, I knew very well that I could be dead right now. And it really didn't scare me as much as I would have thought it would have. And that kind of opened my eyes up to, hmm, maybe doing all these past life regression sessions is kind of sunk in. And that primal fear of death isn't really there. Of course, it's in the body. If I'm underwater, I'm going to fight like hell to get up to the surface and get some air. Of course. But what I'm talking about is just the day to day fear, the neurotic fear that most of us kind of have running in the background the whole time. That has dramatically reduced. And to the degree I find my fear reducing, then the world becomes a new place. So I want you to imagine the only thing keeping you from experiencing heaven on earth, not the totally only thing, there will be more, but let's say one of the key elements is fear. If you're willing to clear up your fear, then you're going to get you're just going to be happier, okay? You're not going to get anything. You're just going to enjoy this reality. And that's why we're here. So, how do you release the fear? Paradoxically, the first thing that you do is you feel it more. Quit resisting it. It's Think of fear as like a schoolyard bully that takes your lunch money every day. There comes a point when you say, "No, I'm not going to give you my lunch money." And you might beat me up. Maybe I'll get lucky and beat you up. But either way, you're not getting the money. And the bully eventually gives up or maybe gets defeated. The point is to not play into the fear. When the fear comes to you, just say, "Okay, beat me up. Beat me up, fear." You might call it panic. You might call it anxiety. So try this: sit in a chair. Don't do it standing up. Don't want you to faint and hurt yourself, which will probably not happen anyway. But sit in a chair and tell the fear to do whatever it wants. Like you're just going to take the beating. And you'll notice that without your resistance, the fear doesn't really pack that much of a punch, not as much as you thought. So try that first. But realize the boundary between heaven on earth and hell on earth is a thing called fear. Fear is kind of like the fence that goes around hell on earth that keeps you from heaven on earth. And resisting the fear is the way that keeps you in the fear because it doesn't get processed. And like the bully, you can think every day that the bully could really beat you up. But even if you completely let the bully beat you up, it probably wouldn't be as bad as living in fear for months and years and all the damage that that does. Heaven on earth is here. Oh no, am I going to rhyme? And it's only blocked by your fear. Thank you very much. Bye.